What's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. In today's video, is going to be talking about the talent builds I would play week 1 of patch 11.2 for Warlock, which are different, sort of, maybe, possibly some specs, from what I play when I acquire 11.2 tier and things in week 2, 3, and beyond. So if you want any links to these builds, they should all be down below in the description. Actually, no, they're all going to be in the spreadsheet. I'll link the spreadsheet down below because they're all in there. There's one link to the spreadsheet versus 50 for these builds. So there you go. At the same time, we are pushing for 100k subs on the channel this year. If you guys aren't subbed to the channel and would maybe consider doing so, that would mean the world to me. Love y'all all regardless, but want to mention that. Shameless plug over. Let's get into it. So, for Affliction, now the positive thing about Affliction is that in 11.1, our tier set revolves around Unstable Affliction. Jackpots go out, haste increase, all that, 50% damage amp to Unstable Affliction, and it spreads to multiple targets. This tier set has not been nerfed heading into 11.2. I expect it to be nerfed at some point this week, probably. This set is absurd right now. They buff Unstable Affliction by a crazy amount in 11.2, and that's going to be effective come patch on Tuesday, basically tomorrow at this point. Now, the good thing about that is talent build-wise, if I can pull up my talents here, not a lot is really shifting around. So when it comes to Hellcaller and single target, if you're playing Hellcaller in single target, which looks to be the better spec, in pure ST in 11.2 and all that. You are playing Siphon Life over AC. You are playing Xavius' Gambit. We're playing that currently this patch 11.1 regardless, but 11.2 we're playing it because of the massive UA buffs that have come in. Everything else here is pretty much the same. I've seen some sims floating around playing no Sacklash and a point in Dark Harvest. Haven't confirmed that myself, but either way, it's possible. I'll look at it. But for now, this is what I'd be playing. You're also playing Bleak Heart Tactics here. As both Hellcaller builds and M+, and that's basically that. When it comes to Affliction, Soul Harvester looking about the same as well. Absolute Corruption over Siphon Life, Improved Haunt, no Sacklash, points in Cold the Week, Dark Harvest, playing points in Xavius' Gambit, and the other amps over here. Keep in mind, Malignancy is being buffed from 40% to 80%. On this patch as well. So whether you're playing Soul Harvester or Hellcaller, both look really strong week 1 of 11.1 because of, you know, the 11.1 tier set having Unstable Affliction buffs on it still, the UA buffs coming in, the Malignancy buffs coming in, just in general. A lot of like Stat Cleave and M0 thoughts that die sort of fast. Honestly, Soul Harvester's burst could be pretty good, but it's week 1, not a whole lot else to it. Same builds when it comes to M+ as well. I guess technically we are playing a point in Xavius' Gambit this time around. Still playing it even in M+ at this point. Some do opt to play Drain Soul for Soul Harvester in M+. I still play Shadowbolt. I think it's better. You get a bunch of shard gen from your Soul Rot cast, from your tier set in 11.2, which won't be out yet. But even without that being in, you still get a lot from casting your Soul Rot. I'm opting to play Shadowbolt in both builds for Hellcaller and Soul Harvester here. Only little difference here, playing Wither and Bolt for Soul Harvester over Sacklash for Hellcaller, all that. But everything else, very similar, pretty much the same, honestly, that we've played this patch. When it comes to Affliction week 1, I'm going to put my money on Aff being the strongest spec for Warlock week 1 of the patch, which doesn't really matter a whole lot because, once again, it's week 1, nothing relevant's happening. You're running M0s, running Delves, that's basically it. But I think it's the strongest spec unless they nerf the 11.1 tier set, which is going to happen at some point. So there's that. Alrighty, now when it comes to Demonology, week 1 of patch 11.2, still playing your 11.1 tier set, which is the Greater Dreadstalker casting Hand the Gul'dan causes your dog to Dreadbite set and all that. I would opt to play builds that look like this. Now, when it comes to 11.1, you're playing things like Dreadlash, Dread Calling and things to supplement your tier set, which revolves around Dreadstalkers. I've tried to send different builds that have Dread Calling and or Dreadlash, but honestly, they're just not performing as well as the build right here, which is your 11.2 build anyways. The buffs to Tactics, Brutality, Hatred, the changes to It Mother being here, and also the fact that Umbra Blaze has a 100% chance to apply a dot to its target that whatever it hits versus 15 that you're seeing currently 11.1, and just other things in general changing have made points not very flexible, and just I can't find value. I can't find a point to pull to get into Dread Calling and or Dreadlash. Maybe there's one somewhere of lesser value, but honestly, I can't find it. I'm starting with this initially in single target, both for Daedalus and Soul Harvester. Nothing changes between them, just hero talents and all that. And, you know, I'm just going to go from there, honestly. But Hatred tactics, brutality are very strong. Also skewed. Maybe not skewed, but it's changed racial sims a bit as well, which we'll look at in a little bit here for Demonology. Well, for all three specs. When it comes to M plus for Demonology, so you're still playing Dreadlash here. The build I've opted to, I've landed on is more or less this. Now, I'm sort of split. I mean, I think I'm going to play with Doom personally more. There are people that are just playing with this hatred, tactics, and brutality. I think you'll likely see Doom still end up being the better build in the long run. I could be wrong here, honestly. Doom, impending Doom, and I guess, you know, Doomguard, whatever, even though he's single target based, do have, I think, more like universal AoE relevancy, I think plus relevancy and applicability compared to like Mutable Hatred. But at the same time, buffing, you know, tactics and brutality does have some relevancy in, you know, universal single target and AoE as well, right? But I think overall, you'll probably still see Doom, but you do lose a bit of single target not playing hatred, tactics, and brutality. So if you're not a fan of Doom, don't want to play the playstyle, just want to say, hey, I'm going to go in there and not worry about tab targeting, you know, Dooms or Doom brands of different mobs. You could play these 3 points here over these 3 all the same and be okay. I'm going to start here basically for both Daedalus and Soul Harvester. Nothing really changes, but if you want to play hatred, you can, and it's not the end of the world. Honestly, I don't blame you for it. Oh, play Shadow Fury though. I don't know why it's not playing Shadow Fury. Please play Shadow Fury. There we go. Yeah. So play Shadow Fury. Getting into the last spec here, which is going to be Destruction. So Destruction is receiving a handful of changes this patch 2, tuning wise. Note that Inferno is gone. It's just Cataclysm here now. So you're trying to do like weird PTR sims on retail and all that. You're going to get an error because it has a hybrid node here still on, you know, retail, but 11.2 gets rid of that. Either way, Destro is receiving 32% buffs to Chaos Bolt. I think like 50 or something to Incinerate. A couple other things here and there. It has changed Destro's single target build. So here's the old build. Essentially, you played in single target. CDF with RDF and Demon Fire Mastery does indeed sim higher than the Shadowburn build we play currently on retail. However, you play Shadowburn for mobility, flexibility, all that. Obviously, it's better execute currently on retail, like in 11.1 before we hit 11.2. But when 11.2 hits, things shift a bit to a build that looks like this. Now, the highest simming build looks like this, technically, with 1 point in Raging Demon Fire over Shadowburn. Shadowburn, even if you play a point in it, which I'm going to suggest here in single target for both, is not something you hit on cooldown anymore. You don't even hit it unless you're moving, basically. We don't even think it's a gain when it comes to execute anymore, because they buff Chaos Bolt a bunch. I'm not really sure if that's going to change. We'll see where that goes. I need to like verify that 1,000,000%, but it's not a spell you hit on cooldown, or, you know, a lot, basically near cooldown from the start to the end of the fight. Not at all. Basically, you're going to hit it if you're moving and have nothing else to cast, like Conflagrate, whatever. You can then hit Shadowburn then. If an ad's going to spawn in and die and you get the shard back, sure, that's fine too. But you're not hitting it as part of your normal single target rotation anymore. However, if you're not playing Shadowburn, you're playing this, Destra has Cement Shoes. All you can really cast in the move is Conflagrate, which I'm not really holding charges for. I don't want to do that. So I think if things went live, you know, if the raid was open like Tuesday as well, you probably see this build played in most settings for Destro. Even though this is a little higher, I think about 80 or 100k DPS, Shadowburn gives mobility, utility if you call it that in a sense, and just fits the overall profile and what you'll see in rating more. So this is where I would start for single target for Diabolist, common 11.2, even playing the old tier set, which I think procs CDF and gives shock pots. I don't even know, which is some passive thing for Destro. I forgot what it was. But yeah, so same thing with Hellcaller. Burn to Ashes is simming higher for me for Hellcaller than Chaos Incarnate. I think Burn is a little higher for Diabolist too, but that was without like the cheesy like APL put in for Diabolic Arts on pull with Diabolist. So for Hellcaller, I'm playing the same thing with Shadowburn, except I'm playing Burn to Ashes over Chaos Incarnate, and we'll see where that goes in the long run. But you are playing Crashing Chaos here, and, you know, it's basically that. Now, when it comes to M+, honestly, I'm not really changing much. I'm still playing Reign of Chaos here. I've tried both. I mean, like, Crashing Chaos does buff Chaos Bolts considerably. I think you probably do end up playing Crashing Chaos here, but I want to experiment more with Reign of Chaos too, because I think Reign is more suiting when it comes to like those large mass AoE pulls. But at the same time, you do buff 8 Reign of Fires. Crushing Chaos much more relevant in single target, more relevant in like funnel prio damage as well. So we'll see where that goes. But either way, That's the only little thing I probably change here, or, you know, debate changing. Besides that, I'm playing this build here, both for Diabolist and Hellcaller with CDF, even though, like, technically, like RDF, or sorry, Demon Fire Infusion does sim higher. It gives very, very little extensions of your Immolates or Withers if you're playing Hellcaller comparatively to CDF. So there is that. And I would not recommend Diabolist and M+. What I would recommend is Hellcaller and M+, which is this same build. Diabolist and M+ looks better in 11.2 for sure. However, that's only when you get like your new tier set with the Diabolist eyeballs you fling. They're doing a lot of damage. Without that, I mean, Hellcaller definitely is better. Even with that tier set, the 11.2 one, I think Hellcaller is still better on the higher end. But regardless, if you're playing a build in plus, I would play this. Some do opt to play Rifts over Shadowburn, some opt over Soulfire. Some opt to play Shadowburn over Soulfire, which I don't think is a thing anymore because of the changes to Chaos Bolt and all that. But regardless, this is the most universal build. I think the best build to play overall, and what I would play, what I am going to play, week 1 of 11.2 before I get my new tier set. And the second part of this video, the racial sims, which I really haven't seen anywhere, but there's more to this than what usually is a thing going into new patches. Things are changing a bit. I've taken what is considered like the best sims for each profile here, and just thrown in races. Thrown in every single race, even the one in the main profile here. The main profile is simmed as dwarf, so you're gonna see like basically like whatever this is dwarf for all of them. You can see like the margin of error here is 1,000. The difference is 1,000, the margin of error is 3k. This is dwarf for everything. It's the same thing. So this is Demonology. Now, Demonology has for a long time been a spec where Orc gains a lot of value. Like Orc's been like the top racial, or one of the top ones for sure, but that isn't the case. Next patch, Dwarf and Tauren are essentially your, and this is Dwarf again, Dwarf and Tauren are going to be your highest DPS races for Demonology. Now, I don't know, I forgot all the races and what they do. I pulled this up. I can't make it much larger. I'm sorry, it's a little hard to see, I think. But regardless, so Dwarf and Tauren, I'm sitting up in my chair, have the same racial. Dwarf has Might the Mountain, crit strike bonus damage, and healing increased by 2. Tauren was changed a few patches ago to have the same racial as well. Same exact thing. I played Tauren a few tiers in farm and stuff because I want to play some Demo, and it's the best simming race out there. It was at least, or a good one, a good universal one regardless, right? But Dwarf and Tauren are looking to be your highest overall DPS ratio for Demonology heading in the next patch. Now, it's very important to keep in mind with racials that things often vary. It's not like, oh, it's the highest damage. Great, we'll play that. Let's say Tauren was the highest racial. Let's say Tauren was ahead of Dwarf by 20k, which wouldn't happen because it's the same racial, like damage-wise. Dwarf also has Stone Form as its like utility ratio, which is very, very good this tier. It's good in Season 3, which I think definitely gives the nod to Dwarf over Tauren when it's the same DPS ratio here regardless. Tauren's utility ratio is what? War Stomp? It's never used. It doesn't yeah, it's whatever. War Stomp compared to Stone Form is laughable, right? Stone Form is way better. The only really difference here is one's Horde, one's Alliance. I'll play Cow if it happens, but if Dwarf is needed for Stone Form, I'll play Dwarf, right? So that's a universal thing for every racial sim here, right? But Dwarf, Tauren, Human, 63k loss basically over the Dwarf Tauren sims here. Orc 66,000 loss. Moghar 71. I'm currently a Moghar Orc, so I'm definitely changing to a different race here. Then Troll, Mechanome, High Mountain Tauren, Coltirian, Night Elf. You can go way down here to Zandalari Trolls. I simmed every race in the game. Drakthir sitting here. It's 105k DPS loss. There are, once again, Drakthir's racial is decent. I guess one of them that you can negate some knockbacks and stuff. I don't think there's many of this tier regardless, not like Ansharek pull-ins and all that, but if you're hoping for like undead to be good for whatever reason, they're still terrible. I pray at one point or one day they remove DPS, probably just all racials from the game in general, or you can have it so you can choose your own. So I want to play I want to play the class I want to play, the race I want to play. I want to play undead, but can't do it. So regardless, looking highest for Demonology, Dwarf and Tauren for damage, but keep in mind utility. When it comes to destruction, similar story. Tauren and Dwarf are on top here. It's the same racial. There's just margin of error here. These are two Dwarf sims right here, and this is obviously Tauren. So if you're looking at pure DPS, Demonology and Destro are the two front runners for this raid tier currently, and they're both Tauren and Dwarf for raw DPS. But if you're looking at DPS and the actual utility that it has through Stone Form versus War Stomp, Dwarf is definitely ahead. But Horde versus Alliance, whatever you want. As far as like the fall off here between Dwarf and Human, 33k or 30k, depending how you look at it. Void Elf, Mogheart, Mecha Gnome, Night Elf, Quilterian, Goblin, Gnome. Oh, you can scroll down more. I'll put the Sims down below in the description. So on and so forth if you want to look even further. But, you know, you can go down here and lose 100k and play Gonk. Whatever that is. I thought he was retired. Anyways, there's that. That was a Patriots joke, in case you didn't get it. I think it was the Patriots. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. And then we have Affliction. Affliction has Mogheart on top. But it's a case of, well, AF is good this tier, unless they come in and nerf Demonology and Destro a bunch at some point, whatever. Dwarf and Tauren are still, once again, these are both Dwarf Sims here, same thing. Dwarf and Tauren are number 2 and number 3. I think you're definitely playing more Demonology and Destruction this tier than you are Affliction. AF is still good. You can play AF if you want, and AF's probably the best in M+, or close to it, whatever. They're all a wash, but even though I'm playing Mogheart right now, I gain, it's the highest, you know, simming racial by 20k over Dwarf and Tauren for Affliction. Looking at what I gain comparatively for Destruction, I'm gaining 60k for Destruction, and I'm gaining 71k for Demonology. And just looking at what the two best racials are for these two specs, which are probably the highest played specs in the raid for Warlock, if you're looking to maximize your DPS and or utility, I mean, Dwarf's been phenomenal for a long time for that, and honestly, they look really good too. Next patch. If you want to stay Horde, play a Tauren. You get the damage, you get a little bit more stamina, but you don't get the Stone Form ability. So up to you. But you know, top 2, Dwarf Tauren for Demonology, Dwarf Tauren for Destruction, and if you put aside Mogheart, Dwarf and Tauren are top for Affliction as well. So that's what I'd say. But in the end, if you like playing Undead or whatever, and you enjoy it thematically, play it. It's not gonna make or break your, you know, your. If you're not pushing high-end content, play the game for what you like. If you like playing Undead, if you like playing Drakthir or Zandalari Troll Bonk, whatever his name is, play that. Why not? If you're pushing higher content and want max DPS, it's Dwarf or Tauren. So thanks for watching, guys. Like always, wraps it up. Hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry it took a bit to run these racial sims and get the talent builds out to y'all. Trying to get the guides having done. The website should be up to date, except for trinkets at this point. If you find any issues on the website or anything, let me know. There could be maybe a missed talent somewhere. I already found a couple. There's just so many builds being updated today and all that. I'll be updating trinkets probably like, I don't know, Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm waiting to see if they do like buffs and nerfs tomorrow. Well, today on Monday. Before I do that, it's a bit of a pain. But everything else should be good. There's raid builds, M+ builds, baseline spec builds, all that stuff. I have links to the actual spreadsheet for the talent builds you saw in the video down below, as well as the racial sims down below in the description if you guys want them. If you want any weak wars or add-ons, website, Discord links up here, as well as also down below in the description. And I want to thank my patrons. All support on Patreon, y'all. Thank y'all so much. Like always, I greatly appreciate it and appreciate y'all support. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, link up here, as well as for the 4th time, down below. So this week's gonna be pretty insane. I don't know what happened to this PTR. It flew by just so fast. It feels like we're mid PTR still, but the patch is out basically tomorrow. Yeah. I don't know what's going on, but I'm excited for it. I know what's going on, but it feels like it just flew by. I'm getting old. Time flies when you're getting old, man. Jeez. Maybe y'all feel the same. I don't know. Thanks for watching, all. I'll see you later. Peace.